Remember when you had that truck breakdown and you didn't have the funds set aside to replace it? Well, that is what we're going to dig into in this week's Planning for Profit Minute. In our software, we can take a look at it and we build those costs into basically our model. There's only one place that you have to get money from, and that, quite honestly, is your labor rate. Yeah, you've got some material markup that's going to offset some of your overhead, but what's covering everything else is your labor rate. Now, you might not have to replace that truck for 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, but somehow we have to get the cost of that truck, that expense that we're going to see tomorrow, we need to get it into today. Now, how do we get the cost of tomorrow into today? Let's take a look in the software itself. So as I go into my company here, I'm going to go into costs input. And as I'm in costs input, I'm going to go into equipment. Now, you can see that I've already got a number of my trucks in here and built into my individual model itself. We're planning that at some point one of these trucks is going to fail. Because let's be honest, at some point, every vehicle you have is going to fail. So I'm simply going to add a new piece of equipment here. And as I click on that, the window's going to open up. So at this point now, I can come in here, and for simplicity, I'm just going to say new service van. Whoop. Plug that one in. The next one, is it future or existing? Existing means it's a vehicle that it's going to be replacing one of the trucks we have in the fleet today. Future would mean it's something that we're going to add to the fleet. We're going to put another service van in a couple of years. So it's an existing truck. Now, if we're starting this process now, you always want it year to start this year, right? We're at ground zero right now. How many more years do you think you can get out of a truck before you're going to have to replace it? So I'm saying I can get 3 more years out of my existing truck before I have to replace it. And that's a good thing. Time is your friend. The more time you have, the less it hurts. Right? We have more time to build up that pool of money. And then the next one in here is the net cost to replace. So when I look at that one, how much is it going to cost you to replace this vehicle? Now, again, you know what you paid for the last one. I don't know exactly what it's going to cost me in 3 years to replace it, but I certainly know it's something more than I would pay now or what I paid for the last one. Now, this is a net price to replace. So in other words, if you buy new vehicles, that's got to be a new vehicle price. If you buy used vehicles, it's got to be a used vehicle price. Now, remember, you've also got lettering or wrapping. You've got ladder racks. You've got shelving, right? If you have to buy all that stuff new, it needs to be in this price. If you're moving it over from the old trucks, well, then you can take it out of there. Also, if you trade in your trucks, remember, it's a net price, so your typical trade-in value could come off of that amount as well. So I'm saying it's going to cost me $40,000 to replace that piece of equipment. Now, you notice we've already calculated right here, just popped in, that we're going to set aside $1,111 per month from now through 2025 so that when it comes time to replace this piece of equipment, we've got the money we need to just pay for it and be done with it. Next section, I can put in any comments here. That's purely for your reference. We want to leave the fuel burning equipment checked because that means we're going to use this dollar amount to allocate some of our other expenses. From there, the last item I need to decide is which department is going to pay for this thing. Well, this is a service van, so I'm going to allocate this 100% to my service department. Once I've done that, I can now accept this particular expense. Now, as soon as we do that, you will see it's going to add it to your list. New service van, $40,000. It's going to last 3 more years before I have to replace it. So in effect, we're going to build in $13,333 into our cost of operation so we can build this fund to replace our trucks. So in my particular company, as I scroll down, I can see that I'm actually building in a grand total of $75,000 per year into my pricing to replace my entire fleet of trucks whenever they come due. Now, again, I can look here in the reports section of my software. I'll simply go into the profit statement, and you'll be able to see very quickly, as I scroll down, I can see my service department is the first department listed. As I scroll down on that list toward the bottom, you will see the equipment replacement fund right here. It's going to show up a couple of lines from the bottom itself, and so I can see out of that grand total of $75,000, $47,433 of that is allocated to my service department. That's what we're building into our pricing in our service department so that when our service vans die, we've got the money that we need to replace it. Remember, your trucks are the second greatest expense that you have in your company. Make sure you're planning to get the cost of tomorrow into today. And that's this week's Planning for Profit Minute.